Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Anything Liverpool YouTube channel for another live stream. Today, joined by three lovely gentlemen. Deck, I'll start with you, mate. How are we doing today?
How are we? How are we, Charlie? You go. I'm very well, very well. We were just chatting then. Long day, but I've been looking forward to this stream. The last stream I done, it was just before the first game of the season, and I think now I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's just because it's the Newcastle game tomorrow, or but I'm just so excited. I'm so pumped, just with everything that's been going on, as we know, in the media and stuff like that. So yeah, I've been looking forward to this today. But overall, it's been a good day, mate. It's been a good day.
Yeah, definitely. Drew, early-ish for you over across the pond. How are we doing today, mate?
It's still 11 a.m. here, but it is like 88 degrees. I think the high is like 90 something, so I'm trying to figure out a way to stay cool. But more importantly, I'm trying to think of the excuse that I have to bring up tomorrow to step out of work while, while the Liverpool game's on, because that will be at noon for me.
Oh, lovely. But Stitches, mate, how are you today?
I am fantastic, mate. It's been a busy day. My boys play football, so we had fixtures this morning, and then we caught the Palace versus Nottingham Forest game, which is a bit of a ball fest, to be honest. But yeah, got that firsthand, and then dashed back home. Managed to catch some of the United game, and then now I'm here, ready to talk all things Liverpool and football. Let's do it.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I feel like the Prem's been a bit underwhelming so far, to be honest. Outside of our game, it's been a bit of a
think so.
been a bit boring. Like I thought, Everton game was all right, but they got very lucky to even not concede one. Never mind about 3 or 4. So it's yeah. But
I mean, how do you follow that opening day though? Like, let's be real, that game was off the chain. You know, that's a high bar set straight off the bat on the first day, so it's going to be very difficult to match that. You know.
Yeah, I'm sure Monday will give it a good go. But as I feel like we do with every stream, we're going to be talking about a certain Swedish striker who goes by the name of Alexander Isak. I feel like I know. I feel like I know him better than my own parents at the moment. So, but there's been more news, if you can call it news today. Craig Hope, obviously of the Daily Mail, who kind of broke it, did an interview on Sky Sport. Sent a hell of a lot of mixed signals, if I'm going to be honest. He kind of said his information is Isak's going nowhere. However, a £130 million bid would get it done, and that they need 2 strikers. So he contradicted himself within a space of 3 minutes. There's a lot of opinions flying around deck. It's we do this every year with transfer rumors, especially the big ones.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been following, especially online, since 2015. But even I can't remember a story that has got this many twists and turns. He did also. There was a lot of reports kind of saying that Newcastle always wanted to wait until after the Liverpool game. He shut that down and said that that's not really a point of contact. I'm just not buying it personally, Deck. I'm still on the train that he's happening.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
I mean, I agree with what you said there about I've never known a player to have such a focus around them in regards to their move to a football club, not just Liverpool, but in general. I mean, not that I can remember. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I've been talking about Alexander Isak now. I've been making videos on Isak on my Instagram and TikTok for about, it's got to be 2 months easy since the transfer window initially opened. You know, it's got to be, it's up there 6 or 8 weeks. We've been hearing the rumours and we've been constantly every single day, Alexander Isak, to the point now where I'm just a little bit like, oh, you know, Fabrizio, Craig Hope, David Ornstein, these journalists are putting out news articles and pieces on social media, and it's just almost just the same recycled stuff that we've seen for weeks. I personally think it's still going to happen. I don't think it's anything to do with the Newcastle game tomorrow. I think what we've seen from Alexander Isak personally as well, but not only that, just in regards to Newcastle haven't had any sort of haven't had any sort of control, really, in my opinion, from what I've seen. Put my bias aside as a Liverpool fan, but just just from what I've seen on social media, they've ran this narrative of, well, they need a striker, they need a striker. There's a week left in the window, and they don't even know if they're going to get Wissa. Never mind some of these other players that they were linked to, etc., which obviously hasn't happened. They said about the whole TK thing with us. I've since read that Liverpool it was nothing to do with Newcastle. Liverpool were going to going for TK regardless, and Isak was always going to be another option as well. We wanted both anyway. So all this stuff, how we've took TK, that's put a pin in it, and that's stopped that move with Isak coming to Liverpool from happening. I've read that's a load of nonsense. But yeah, Charlie, I just think it is a little bit mad. I don't really. I'm almost a little bit like, I'm just like, when he does arrive at the club, it'll just be like, okay, we've sorted you for a while now. I think because it's dragged on that much, if that makes sense. It's a bit of a strange one. If you ask me.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Stitcher, I know what Dex kind of said there. It feels like this saga's been going on so long. Once he joined, it's not even going to be like, kind of there towards.
Yeah.
It's not going to be as exciting.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's put a bit of a dampener on it. But what train are you on? I'll ask everyone now. Are you on Isaac joining?
Yeah, he's coming. Yeah.
I think it's inevitable. What I would like to say is that this whole saga has been really weird. It's been weird in the regards that the Newcastle media and the Newcastle narrative around this, it's been the biggest oxymoron that I've ever seen, the biggest yes-no that I've ever seen, right? And the reason I say that is because every release, every statement is Isak's not going anywhere. Oh, but there's terms and conditions to be met. Well, if he's not going anywhere, there's no terms and conditions to be met. Oh, Isak's not going to be sold. He's going to be at Newcastle by the end of this transfer window. Oh, but 130 million would be accepted, and it's gone from 150 to 130 to it's never going to happen till it can happen under these conditions. And the only thing that's been consistent throughout all of this is Isak's been clear that he's done. I'm not kicking another ball for you. Apparently sold his house. Like there's been no deviation in that aspect of things, right? And we as a club have just kind of sat in the wings. Like we're like, right, when you're ready to talk to us, we're ready to put a serious bid in. And we've been made out to be the bad guys in the media and the Newcastle fans. Obviously, they're not going to hate their own team. They can hate Isak and they can hate us, and they make it all our fault. But apparently, this has been going on since last year. It's been going on since the summer last year. So we haven't destabilized him. He's been destabilized all this time. And Eddie Howe, you had Simon Jordan and other people with narratives saying, "Oh, Liverpool destabilized him, and they've got a lot to answer for in this, that, and the third." And that calling Isak a liar basically when he made his statement. And guess what? Eddie Howe comes out and says, "Yeah, we did have a chat about him leaving." So it wasn't.
I know.
He's not living in Narnia. He's not living in a land of make-believe about any of this, right? So, yeah, just that bit of context for me. But to come back to your question, what do I make of this? It's going to happen, right? It's whether it's now, whether it's January, whether it's going to happen. And if you're Newcastle and you put the emotions aside for a minute, you've got to be pragmatic here. You've basically got over £100 million striker that says he's never going to kick a ball for you again, right? He sold his house. He's pinned his flag to the mast about his position, right? You're saying you're gonna stick to your grounds and you're not going to sell him, but all that means is you end up with no striker because he's not going to play for you, and even if he does, he's really not going to put it in, and you've not got the money that you should have got in. And you've not brought in replacements that you should have brought. I don't understand why they sold Wilson. Why did they sell Wilson?
Yeah.
If they haven't brought a striker. Yeah, but offer him 1 year. Offer him a
Gets injured
pay
all
as
the
you
time,
play.
doesn't he?
Extend. Yeah. Well, you say that, but he's playing. He's played for West Ham. He's managed to get those 2 games in. I bet playing Wilson in the last 2 games or in the last game would have helped them a lot more than playing Gordon as a centre forward. So, you know, for a year, can you not take that gamble? At least that gives you a bit of breathing space, a bit of, do you know what I mean? At least you've got someone that can play the role. Yeah, I just think they've run this as a shambles, and you know, Newcastle fans are going to come at me. I don't care. You know, it is what it is. I'm just being honest here. Your club has run this as a shambles, and it's a complete mess. And your only way out really is take the money and run, right? And we're offering you a way out. You can hate us as much as you want, but once you stop hating us, take the money and go and sort yourselves out, right? And we'll take his out. Thank you. And yes, it's an anticlimax because it's the same old news being churned out by all the different journos. But guess what? Once he scores his first goal for us, I'll be on that excitement train all over again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, true. It's Stitch has kind of alluded to it there. I've always been on that one striker will kind of start the downfall for this. I've never got behind the 2 striker thing. Maybe now going into the final week of the window, it potentially is 2, but we see every single year how fast transfers can happen. Transfers happen within the space of hours sometimes, especially on deadline day. So I'm not buying this whole, oh, they need 2. They've signed none this summer, because Stitcher's mentioned it there. They obviously let Callum Wilson go, but there's also news that they're willing to let this Osalu guy go as well. You know, so if they need strikers, why are they willing to let their only natural one go? You know, they're still underbidding for Vista. You know, it's not like there's no strikers out there as well. There are so many out there, and they're going to have funds readily available. Hey, first thing, I'm not buying it. I think this whole media thing that is being led by that Luke Edwards, the Telegraph, baldy chicken nugget. He is absolute. He's gone back on everything. And today, his big paragraph, I don't know if anyone saw it. He basically said, "Oh, Newcastle have told me that he's not for sale under no circumstances," and then he put, "But if they do it, it's been a charade. They've lied to me, essentially, because they've told me the entire time." The biggest backtrack ever, which indicates to me, Drew, this deal is happening, and I want it to happen as soon as the 5th goal hits the back of the net for Liverpool at St. James's Park. I want us to throw that 130 mil bid as soon as the final whistle ends, and we just get it done on the day. I think it'd be amazing. But are you on a pessimistic train or the optimism train?
I don't even know if you could describe it as either. In terms of like, am I optimistic we get him? I think yes. I don't know if I believe it's going to be this window, not January. The only thing that it seems like this whole saga is Newcastle trying some way to save face. Like they're trying to like put it on their terms. Like that's how the narrative has always seemed to me. It's like at first he's not for sale, and then it's like all these conditions, and then every player they bid for, like just doesn't go there. They don't want to go there, so they just look worse and worse and worse and worse. And then Stitch is saying like the only narrative that's been consistent is Isak not wanting to play there. So I think that just adds that mix to how embarrassing the situation is for Newcastle, where it's like it's not even like a Coutinho situation where we all knew Coutinho wanted to leave the Barca, but he didn't really come out and like do like a public throwing his toys out of the pram. He just like basically played sick for 2 weeks, and then he came back and played, and then got like a free kick against Leicester, and then everything was forgiven. Like put his head down, did the work. I don't think that's an option for Isak with what he said. It'd be very hard, like for him to show up, rock up in the game for Newcastle, let alone like teammates, everything like that. I don't see how he could walk back into that side and go to January, and that'd be the absolute worst case scenario. I think is that he would try to find a way back into the team till January. He's not like after what has happened. There's no way he's staying at Newcastle for more than that period of time. So in that terms, I'm optimistic that he leaves to us this summer, because I just don't see that being an ideal situation for Newcastle. And they just need one striker. Like, going back to what you were saying, like, they have no strikers right now. Like, that's their own doing. Stitch said before, Wilson leaving. Like, Isak is not their striker right now. He said, I'm not playing for you again. So right now they have 0 strikers. Like you said with Lisa, they have to just get that, or what's it? They have to get that over the line. Like, pay the money, get it done, because you need at least one to actually have a striker for this first half of the season. Because right now Isak's not playing for you. So take the money, as you said, and then just put down the money and get the strikers. Like you tried to save face. You tried to come out like it's on your terms, like you were the ones holding all the cards, and it's just everyone has called your bluff. Every player that didn't want to go to your club, go to the club. Isak, Liverpool, we're all just waiting on Newcastle to just finally cash in on their bad hand, take the good winnings they'll get from that, and then just reinvest. Like, you're gonna have to get fleeced. It is what it is, but you can get more than enough money from Liverpool to rebuild that area of your squad.
Yeah, definitely.
Just quickly on that as well. Sorry, Charlie. Just to jump on that real quick. Does anyone else find it weird that it doesn't seem like his teammates or Howe are really that angry with him? It seems like they're quite understanding of his position
because they knew.
Yeah.
He's had conversations with Stitches. He's had conversations with the mate.
Yeah.
I can't even. You know, you see opposition fans and like other people say whatever they want. They have their own opinion, but regardless of being a Liverpool fan, just as from a football fan's point of view at the moment, it's funny to me how anyone who thinks that this has just come out of nowhere and this is just happened since the end of the season. This has been. He had come and it's proven now because Eddie Howe's, like Charlie mentioned at the start of the stream, Eddie Howe's come out and since said that conversations were had. So Stitches, it's the fact that Eddie Howe and the Newcastle players, don't seem fussed by it is because they know they know more than anyone. They know more than Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe knows more than anyone that this has been in the works for some time. We don't know the ins and outs. We don't know what's been offered to Isak. We don't know whether Isak's had that conversation with Newcastle and they've sort of approached him with an offer at the end of the season, and it's been laughable in his opinion and his agent's opinion. And he's went, well, right, I gave you my word. I said I'd do this. You haven't fulfilled your end of the promise. It's done for, and that's this has been brewing for at least 6 months, at least.
And Howe's probably more annoyed with the fact that they've not dealt with this ahead of time.
I feel a bit sorry for Eddie Howe. I feel a bit sorry for Eddie Howe.
Yeah,
I feel a bit
because they haven't found replacements. They've had time.
No.
They know this has been an issue.
This is
and
what
then
I'm saying,
on top of that, he's got all of this hullabaloo and all of this noise around his team when he just wants to focus on, they've got Champions League. You'd think they didn't qualify for Champions League or anything like that. And he just feels wholly, properly unprepared for what's about to come. And he's probably sitting there thinking, I just wish these idiots would pull their fingers out and just get this done.
Can I have my 130 million quid so I can spend it in the summer?
Exactly.
He could have had 130 million quid, and because let's be honest, is Newcastle the richest club in the world, but they can't spend like the richest club in the world because of PSR and whatever financial situation that they're in. But if I'm Eddie Howe, I'm not very happy with the board at Newcastle United because he could have had that money and them funds to go and get his squad ready for Champions League, which if we all remember when Newcastle United qualified for Champions League, everyone said, oh, that's it, that's great for them, Isak will stay, blah blah blah. Champions League football was massive for them, absolutely massive. That was the leading factor on this summer window being a proper really solid window for Newcastle. And I don't understand how it's not even just like the Isak situation. They haven't been able to get anyone that they wanted.
I think you've got to remember with Newcastle though, it's like they got bought by Saudi and instantly their fans thought we're going to get who we want.
Mbappe.
and it's the exact same with Liverpool fans. It's the exact same with Manchester United fans. The face that we see of fans online are always the loudest fans. Now, the likes of Toonmouth, Magpie Media, Magpie 24/7, all them accounts that, you know, are blating out the same rubbish about, you know, Newcastle not having to sell when the big Newcastle United, they don't represent the large majority of fans unless it's Arsenal. I feel like Arsenal are the first club to really put that on the forefront. But I think with Newcastle, it's just like they really tried to fish in the big boy pond. You know, they went, oh, we've made Champions League football. We have all this money on the face of it. We don't, because we don't make enough revenue to actually spend the money. You know, we're Saudi, and they just thought that could attract players. It can't. It never has been able to. It can't. Even PSG have been signing players since what, the 90s. You know, and a lot of people maybe think, oh, PSG come around in the early 2020s and they're just spending 200 million on Mbappe. You know, all this. It's Newcastle can't do that. You know, PSG have established themselves as a big club. Newcastle haven't done that in the Champions League, and that's why people don't want to go there. It's very easy to see on the face of things that Newcastle unlikely going to finish top 4 again. So why would players join a club like that when realistically they're not going to be much higher? I don't think anyway. I also think as well the Saudis are so sold on the Saudi Pro League, and they've realized they cannot do what Qatar did with Manchester City. So Newcastle are now just a side project. That's my go-to anyway. But just really quickly before we kind of move on, if you are watching on YouTube, Twitter, guys, make sure you do come over to YouTube, leave your comments in, get the questions in as well. Try and bring any relevant ones up during the stream, and obviously make sure to subscribe to the channel with the bell notifications on. Okay, we're still bringing on Isaac because there's a lot of opinions to talk about, and then we'll kind of go on to the Liverpool game. We'll keep it Newcastle related, but Stitchers, someone kind of mentioned it there before. It doesn't benefit Newcastle keeping him, does it? You know,
there's no upside.
There is no upside, because the Swede, I don't know if you saw the quote, but the Sweden manager basically said, I'm going to pick Alexander Isak no matter if he's playing football or not.
Absolutely.
You know, he said Alexander Isak is starting for me. I don't care if he's playing football or if he's not. So for Alexander Isak, there is no downside. For Newcastle, there is every downside. For us, there's not really any downside either. If anything, there's more upside for us, because we just wait until January and probably get him for 100 million instead of 130 million. And Newcastle fans can deny this all they want, but that is exactly what's going to happen. If a football player doesn't play for you for 6 months, his value goes down. And they're also another thing, which is a lot of Newcastle fans online are saying, oh, well, we'll wait until January or next summer and a lot of more clubs will be interested. That doesn't matter if Alexander Isak only wants Liverpool, which is what the case is.
Yeah. I think they've got it all wrong. And I feel a bit sorry for them, because it's all emotion. And I get it. I completely get it. It's the same to a certain extent as when Trent wanted to leave. It was emotion for me, but we had no cards to play. He'd made his decision. And that's exactly what it is. And listen, if you get £130 million for Isak, you've done well. For a player you paid £68 million for, that is a great turnaround of profit, right? So all this narrative about 110 million being insulting, like, give me a break. Like, I think a couple of seasons back when Harry Kane was subject of a bid of 100 million, you know, the narrative was, oh, free Kane, let Kane go, let him go win some stuff. 100 million is an amazing offer. So what are you going to tell me? 100 million is a great offer for Harry Kane, but it's 110 or 120 or 130 isn't a great offer for Isak. Come on, behave. Like, it's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. Like, there is no upside. I'm sorry, Newcastle fans. I'm not saying this to be horrible, but if you put the emotion aside for a minute, he doesn't want to play for you. It's like having a girlfriend that doesn't want to be with you. She's already told you that she's dating other people, and you're still hankering after him while sending abusive texts. Like, I hate you, you've ruined my life. But, you know, if you want to get back together,
Yeah,
we can do it. It's pitiful to watch from the outside. Let it go. It's like, I mean, he alluded to the fact that he wanted to go. I was like, good riddance. Like, good luck to you. Off you go. I wasn't that bothered. I was more emotional about the fact that he'd lied to us for so long about it.
And went for free.
I went for free. Well, that, to be honest, I'm a rare one. That didn't even bother me that much.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me that much. What bothered me was the lack of integrity. Like, you owe us at least that much. Just tell us you're going to go. Not everyone's going to be happy, but you would have gone with some blessing. And we'd have said, you know what? The boy's gone on to have different adventures. But it's the lying. It's the hiding behind, I'm not making any comments, when you fully knew what you were going to do. You'd already given them agreements. You were signing Real Madrid shirts. You know what I mean? You'd already had an agreement in place. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, mate, but this is what I wanted to say, because I've seen this Trent comparison. Not only that, about the Trent didn't say a word. I especially this week since the PFA Awards, when Isak put that on his Instagram story. So not only has Isak now basically said, look, it's done, but also they're getting 130, 125, 130 million probably for him anyway. So you can't. Isak's been at the club how many years? You come from Real Sociedad. You paid 60 million quid for him, and you're getting double back. Trent Alexander-Arnold was a boyhood fan, boyhood player, academy, one of us. And then to do what he's done, like you said, stayed silent and then went for basically nothing to Real Madrid, which is, let's be honest, this whole thing that Madrid are a rival, by the way, they are. So they're probably the only club in the world that are bigger than us. So they are a rival. So the Trent situation is a very unique and very delicate and very special situation in its own right. Regardless of how you feel about it, it's completely different to Alexander Isak. And just to touch back on what you said earlier on, Newcastle needs to sort of, Newcastle fans can hate me if they want to, but Newcastle need to realise that, like, there is levels to it. And Isak and Newcastle United are not Trent Alexander-Arnold and Liverpool. It's a completely different situation.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And look, just to circle it off, so to let other people have a say on this, I just think, you know, it's inevitable. You know what the situation is. You're not, like, as much as you want to think you're competing with us and people like that, you're not. There is a food chain, and we've been victim to it. And unfortunately, and you're doing the exact same to Brentford, right? Yeah. You're doing the exact same to Brentford. So it is just the way things work at this moment in time. You've had 3 years of service for him. And, you know, from our perspective, from a Liverpool perspective, we do lack a bit of depth in that attacking area. We need him. We need a striker. All right. I think Verge has come out and said it. Slot's come out and said it. That we need that reinforcement. And I just think that Isak would just be the cherry on top of the cake in terms of what has been an outstanding transfer market for us. Right. I know that some fans are starting to wave the FSG flag out flag again, and some people are starting to pipe up about net spend, and in reality we haven't spent that much. But not in my wildest dreams going into the summer did I think that we were going to spend that amount of money and bring in that quality of players that we've brought in. Like, every single signing that we've made, it's been outstanding, right? I was happy going into the transfer market thinking maybe 2 or 3 signings. We've got 5. Yeah. And we're still shopping. Like,
centre back and Isak, Mark A and Isak.
Give me a break. Like, I'm fed up of it. Like, I've got this thing that I say that certain Liverpool fans can never be happy. Never be happy. Even if we got Gay and Isak, there'd be something else. They'd be talking about maybe a winger, or they'd be complaining about why did we sell Diaz, even though Diaz made it very clear he wanted to leave, right? There's always going to be something to be unhappy about. And I'm just like, we're on the verge of having the ultimate transfer window, right? And people still complaining. And the reality is, they say we're not as strong as we were last season, but who's left, right? Players that hardly played. Unfortunately, we lost Jota, which Jota would have been someone that we would have relied on. Diaz wanted to go anyway. So other than that, the other players that we've let go of, they weren't really contributing, right? And in essence, we've got Gomez back for however long we've got him back for, so that's added reinforcement. We'd let Kwanzaa go, but we've brought in Leone. So where is it that you're seeing this nebulous weakness that you're talking about? We've added Frimpong, we've added Kirkes, we've got 3 left backs currently. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. Maybe I'm completely seeing it differently, but I get it. You think that we're weak, but I only see the weaknesses in our forward line. I think that if we get that transfer done, I think that and Gay and we're laughing.
Yeah, I mean, Drew, I think going off what Stitch has kind of said there, I think it is the forward line that's the most worrying. Look, I think it's a great sign of a great window, and obviously players can play in different positions. I think that's kind of maybe what I still don't believe what Arnie Slot said about him being happy with what he's got. I still think he probably wants 2 more forwards personally. And I still think 2 forwards are more than possible this summer. And I think if we're really going off what Slot has said in the past, 2 players per position, I genuinely think we free forwards. You'd have to, obviously Chiesa would have to leave, which has been rumoured all summer. But I think 3 forwards isn't out the realm of possibility, because at the moment we've only got 1 left winger and we've only got 1 striker. Yes, the likes of Vert can play on the left, Ekitike can play on the left and the front. You know, players can play in different positions, but Arnie Slot Drew has spoken multiple times about needing 2 players for each position, which is a sensible thing. Obviously, we saw at right back that both players can get injured at the same time. That just happens. And that's why you then have the players in different positions who can play there. But question to you, when do Liverpool start looking at different targets? Because tomorrow, there'll only be 7 days until the transfer window closes. There are other options on the market. It does seem like next week is going to be a big week for Liverpool. There's at least 2 signings, if not 3. The talk about Liverpool only being in for Alexander Isak and there's no plan B, I personally don't buy. I'm not sure about you. We saw this in the past with Jurgen Klopp with the likes of Tchouaméni, Jude Bellingham. They were a plan. We missed out on them, and then we ended up hurting ourselves, with injuries. If Isaac isn't happening, when do you think the club will move on? And do you think they will move on, or do you think it's Isaac or bust on the forward line?
I think it's Isak or bust on the forward line. I think it's at the very latest it will be January, and if it doesn't happen in January, then we'll move on to other options. Because I'm not as concerned. I think we make it to January on our forward line so far. Going back to what Stitches said about the players that we that left us were either on their way out or we didn't play. If you think about it, last year our front 3 were Diaz, Gakpo, and Salah. That was the starting front 3 when all were fit. Nunez sometimes played, Jota sometimes played. Jota was always injured. Nunez hit and miss, but the fact that Nunez wasn't our starting striker, or arguably our starting striker when fit, puts that to the side for me in terms of this season, where it's Ekitike right now, starting striker. You know that. Gakpo, left wing, starting left wing. You got Salah on the right. Chiesa, who didn't feature last year. In that regards, we're only 1 person down in terms of backup compared to last season, since Chiesa didn't play. So that's the Isak for me. Because then Ekitike can cover on the left. I know that, as you said, Charlie and Slaughter said, 2 people per position. I just don't know if you're going to keep that quality or caliber of player as backups and all. But I think 5 that could possibly rotate in multiple positions up top is right. And right now we have 4 with Chiesa. Depends how much you want to rely on Chiesa or think he's up to the task. But the Isak thing kind of reminds me of Van Dijk, where it's this is your guy, or it very much appears like this. We know Edwards wanted him instead of Nunez back when that situation came up the first time around. So it kind of seems like that's the play, where it's this was the guy they wanted the first time around. It's come around again, and we can get him. We can probably make it to January on the lineup that we have now. As you said, there are players that can fill in. It's not ideal. Wirtz can play, Szoboszlai can play, that kind of moves you don't really want to see, because you don't want to see an injury crisis. But I think we have that leeway. I think Slot's been very good with man management in terms of injuries. Last year was phenomenal on that front. besides our like injury-prone players like Konate and Gomez. But that being said, I do think Isak's the guy. I think it's the Virgil van Dijk situation. And if we have to wait to January, we'll wait to January and assess then. Because I don't think at this point we're in any danger of not having enough bodies to get to
My issue with that, Drew, is if Hugo Ekitike gets injured tomorrow, Federico Chiesa's our starting striker. I mean, it's that simple. If Cody Gakpo gets injured, Federico Chiesa's our starting left winger. If Mo Salah gets injured, at the moment with Frimpong, Federico Chiesa is our starting right winger. You know, we are that bare up front. If we don't sign Isak, we have to sign somebody. I disagree massively that we can go until January with the amount of.
Everyone's in that position though. If Gyökeres gets injured right now, who's up front for Arsenal? Like you can do that in pretty much every spot where it's like you're not ideal if you're starting striker.
Yeah, but
injured.
the drop off is so different. Come on, look at Arsenal's attacking line. I don't think Jesus is that far off an injury. I don't know. We don't know how long Havertz's injury is, but let's just say they were all there. The drop off look, we did this last year. You know, if Nunes got injured, we had Jota. If Gakpo got injured, we had Diaz. You know, I'm not asking for us to go and sign, you know, let's just say hypothetically, I do think he'd be a good signing, but let's say Rodrigo or Barcola. I'm not asking for us to go and sign them to sit on the bench because that's not how we will play. But you can go and get a Fofana. You can go and get, you know, I don't know. There's many options. It just for me feels like suicide going into the season like that.
Yeah, Charlie, I hear your concern. And for me, it's a valid concern. However, you have to understand the way that we operate now. Like going back as far as Brendan Rodgers' days, then we would panic and go and buy someone that might not fit our system, we might not have done the due diligence on, Benteke, and it wouldn't work. But we've splashed all this cash. Or we could go as far back as Andy Carroll and just see that it wasn't going to work. And all of this, we don't operate that way anymore. I think we had a little bit of a blip when Klopp took the reins, but I think we're back to our meticulous and actual like forensic approach to transfers.
Which is why I don't think we'll go in. That's the reason I don't think we'll go into the season with 3 starters and 1 backup. We saw it.
Yeah, but I think okay, so that's an argument. But from looking at their track record, once they've put their crosshairs on a transfer, that's the transfer they want, and they're willing to wait. We did it with Van Dijk, right? We waited for Van Dijk because there was a hoo-ha, similar kind of situation, right? And you know, the Southampton were very upset with us, and we had to go build some bridges. But eventually, the transfer got done. And it may have to be that we dig into our youth setup or we look at what we've got that we can sort of make do with in the meantime. I know you didn't mention any of those options. You didn't talk about Rio. You didn't talk about Dan's. And I know people are like they're young. We can't rely on them. Absolutely, we can't rely on them. But they can play 4 or 5 games here or there. That carries us through to when we get who we want. Now, do we have a plan B? The likelihood is that there's a shortlist and there's somebody else on that. And until Isak is completely dead, which we've all agreed is not going to be the case, not going to be the case. They're not going to move on, right? Rodrigo, in my opinion, isn't an alternative to Isak. I think we were interested in Rodrigo anyway, right? Yeah. And I think he was on our list anyway. And if he's available at a price that they deem good enough, I think they make that signing regardless of whether we go for Isak or not. I still believe we do that. So, and if you bring in Rodrigo before the window closes, you can wait till the summer. You can wait till January for Isak. But I still think we're all in on Isak.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I see where you're coming from, and I'm still confident a winger and a striker come in, and that striker's Isak, and that winger is. I still don't understand why Bradley Barcola news was leaked. That has threw me through a loop, because if we're not signing him, I just don't know why two of France's most biggest journalists even link us with him. So maybe that's a little rogue on there, but yeah. I mean, it's going on. I'll take it back to the kind of, just to close it off before we look at the Newcastle game.
Yeah.
For me, we did the exact same after we won the league. We relied on 3 centre backs, and 3 of them got injured. They all got long-term injuries, and bear in mind, Joe Gomez was already injury prone, so we knew that. We then went and relied on Fabinho and Henderson for the rest of the season, and they both got injured. And we were down 2 midfielders, 2 centre backs. We had to play Bajcetic in midfield, and then we ended up relying on Reece Williams and Nat Phillips to get us top 4 by the skin of our teeth.
Yeah, thanks for Alisson.
I know Stitches covered it. I just don't see how Michael Edwards, after going through that already, is willing to do that again in a striker department, which is much more physical. You're asking Mo Salah, who's 34, to play.
Who also has an AFCON.
Yeah, who's got AFCON. So we would have to have Alexander Isak signed by January the 1st, but then he hasn't played for 6 months, so he's not going to be in the team straight away. So we are then reliant, in this hypothetical scenario that Alexander Isak signs on January, we then have to hope that none of our players have got injured whilst they're playing 90 minutes each week. And bear in mind, there's an extra 3 Champions League games in that time. There's also the EFL Cup, which obviously youngsters will play, so not really an issue. But we're relying on essentially 4 players, one of them being Federico Chiesa, who slotted in trust last year and who's also been looking for a move away. So you've got Gakpo, who again is great, but he's not really intensive. I like Gakpo, but you could upgrade. And Ekitike, who's 22 years old, we're expecting them to play 30 odd games, 90 minutes. And I appreciate what Stitches has said about Rio Engamoa. I think he's an amazing talent, but how Slot has used him already in the start of the season says to me that he is not in the immediate plans. And Jayden Danns hasn't even been with the team. So I just can't believe the club will go into this window without signing at least a forward.
No, if you'd ask me, Charlie, I think Alexander Isak's done. I think by this time next week, by Monday, by the time the window shuts, Alexander Isak will be a Liverpool player. I don't think it's going to get to January. I also don't think Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes would be so naive to sell Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez. Regardless of what your opinion is on Darwin Núñez, he's still a body. He's still a Premier League. He's still a striker for Liverpool Football Club. He's still, a striker, and I don't see us selling him. I don't see us selling Diaz without it being done. I think the football club knows it's done. I think, especially since Alexander Isak put out what he did the other day and what Eddie Howe said in the last sort of 24 hours or so, I think it's done. I think ideally, just touching on Rodrigo and another winger, another forward, yeah. Chiesa didn't really kick a ball last year. I think we would go out and get Rodrigo if we wanted to. We'd go and get a Fofana, a Barcola if we wanted to. I don't think Isak is all our eggs in one basket, so to speak. But yeah, I don't think we need to worry. In my opinion, just to sort of wrap it up, if you want to say so, I think Isak's done, and I think we've got a centre back coming in as well. I think Mark Gay is on the way as well, because not only is the forward line looking a little bit thin because we've sold Luis Diaz and we've sold Darwin Núñez, and the unfortunate tragedy of Diogo Jota, which we do have to mention because he was a player for us. It is sad to say so and look at it in such a football and term, but it's true. So that that's 3 players up front that we've lost. So at the end of the day, there's no way that Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards would have done that. I also don't think we would have sold Gerard Kwanzaa to Bayer Leverkusen, regardless of Giovanni Leone coming in at centre back when we need a centre half anyway. Because again, Joe Gomez has made the glass. You touched back on the season that we had where Henderson was playing centre half. It's just not practical, and I think the football club is running away now where you've got to sort of look at what we've done before the player comes in through the door. Isak is on. Isak will be a Liverpool player. I truly do think that, and I think Mark Gay will be another centre back signing that we bring in alongside Leone. I don't think it's Leone and no one. I don't think it's we sell Diaz and we sell Nunes and we don't bring in Isak and it's only Ekatike. And then we rely on a Rio and Gamoa. Listen, Arnie Slot and Richard Hughes and all the upper bodies and people at the football club, they know this better than anyone what we're talking about here this evening. They know that Mo Salah's going to AFCON. They know, like you said, Charlie, that in worst case scenario, we're gonna have to have Alexander Isak signed by January the 1st. It's not. This isn't like it sounds worrying to us because we're fans and we're normal people and we think worst case scenario. As much as I would love Rio and Gamoa to play 30 games a season because I think he's fantastic, it's not plausible. It's not plausible. So I just think, I think we need to not worry. I think Isak's on the way. I think it's not going to get to January, Charlie. I think we will get a centre half as well. And I think if we do that with the likes of Ekatike, with the likes of hopefully Chiesa is just there, with the likes of the up and coming talents of Rio and Gamoa and other players that we've got behind the scenes, some of the young academy lads, I think we will be okay, in my opinion.
I think these guys are too clever.
Yeah,
too ridiculous at what they do. For them not to see what you see, Charlie. Right, and have answers. So that's why they get paid the big bucks. Right?
Yeah.
I know. I should be there too, Stitches.
I always say this to fans. Like, if you don't hire a Charlie, it's because you've got someone that can do the job better, right? If we can all see it as fans and we can all worry about it,
that's
they can 100% see it.
They know Mo Salah's got an AFCON. They know Mo Salah goes. They know he's 30. However old, 32, they know,
the only difference between them and us is that they have more data and more insight into the planning and what they're actually the steps that they're taking for them to be relaxed about it. We're not, because we don't know what they're doing. We just see the house is on fire. The house is on fire.
Devil's advocate Stitches. We all knew the midfield needed to be rejuvenated for years, and we still stuck with the old trio.
No, but we did. But my answer to that would be they had a plan. It just didn't happen in the time frame that we wanted it to happen in. They had to plan, and now look.
We've got the money now. That's another thing. We've got the money now.
They had to put the foundations in place. And also, one thing I always say as well, and again, I know I'm talking about youngsters that we're not going to rely on to play all season, but you've got to think about one of the most attractive qualities of our team at this moment for young players is the pathway to get first team experience. We're getting all of these quality youngsters coming through at Liverpool because they see that dream. And if you constantly buy to replace and you don't think about a pathway for players coming through, you're not going to get these players in the future. This is the problem Chelsea has right now. They stockpile at Cobham 48, 50 youngsters that are top quality, but none of them are playing in the first team hardly. They farm them out around the world. And that's why the likes of Rio made the decision not to sign a contract at Chelsea and come to us instead, because he could see that he's going to get a chance. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think they are working with more data and more insight and more inputs than we see. So we just see the problems without all the potential solutions at this moment in time.
I'm still very confident that Alexander Isak gets done, Mark Gay gets done, and one of Rodrigo, Fofana, or Barcola gets done. I think 3 signings can very easily be done. I think the groundwork's in place, especially with Isak. I think it's just Newcastle. And I still honestly believe that we still have an agreement with Newcastle in some place. We all know Michael Edwards, when he wants the media to know, the media will know. The media won't know any sooner. They won't know any later. At the moment, it's all coming from the Newcastle side. And what we forget as well is Liverpool have got the toxicity between the two fan bases that doesn't exist between the clubs. Liverpool are one of the most highly respected and highly rated clubs when it comes to transfers. They are loved by everybody. You know, it's yes, not fans, but by clubs. You know, we had Frankfurt was one. Bayern Munich come out and praise Richard Hughes and how he dealt with it. You know, Liverpool. What was it? 6 months ago, Piff come in and tried to sign Michael Edwards off Liverpool. You know, FSG and Piff also are partners in Live Golf. You know, as much as Newcastle fans want to think about it, these talks will be very, very, very mutual between them. They'll be very friendly because Richard Hughes and Eddie Howe are also know each other from Bournemouth. So, you know, there's so many connections there. And while it's toxic online, it's definitely not going to be like that in real life. The clubs aren't going to want to mess each other around. It's going to want to be a mutually beneficial agreement for both of them, which I think it will be. We could talk about Alexander Isak for 2-3 hours and and the ins and outs of every and to be fair, we've overshot it anyway. So I'm gonna move on.
We've got a game tomorrow.
Against
Newcastle.
Yeah, I know. Well, do you know what? I wanted to do a combined 11. I'm doing a combined 11. We might run over by 10 minutes, lads. So if it does, I'm sorry. We'll skip the goalkeeper because no one's getting in over Alisson. What I'll do is I'll throw it. I'll just pick someone per position. If you're against it, if you've got a point, just come in. But we're all agreeing on Alisson. Yeah, there's you know,
Pope always fucking does an absolute masterclass against us. Not saying he gets in over Alisson, but fingers crossed. I mean, he's not doing one of those performances.
Aaron Ramsdale, Drew. If you bring it up,
put him in goal, please.
Relegation Ramsdale. Right now, two positions I do think are up for grabs potentially. Right back, we'll go off the overall squad. We won't go with who's available. Tino Livramento, or you've got your choice between Frimpong or Connor Bradley. Stitches. Do you know what? I want to throw. I rate Tino Livramento very, very highly. I'll be honest. If I had to choose a combined 11 at the moment, I haven't seen much of Frimpong. I think Bradley, the potential is there. We've all seen it. On his day, he's unbelievable. I like Tino Livramento.
I like Tino, but I'm going to have to disagree with you. I'm having either Bradley or Frimpong ahead of him, simply because of the system. The way we play requires our fullbacks to be able to do certain things and to be able to cover certain ground at speed and be in an attacking, posture during the game. And I think Tino's a bit more defensively disciplined, which is a credit to him, and it suits the Newcastle style. Because when they play against us, it's literally two banks of four, if not a bank of four and a bank of five, and then one striker. So I think for our system, I can't put him ahead. Sorry.
He's the only one 100% fit, though.
Yeah, who's going to play tomorrow? Who's going to play tomorrow? Because Bradley and Frimpong are fit. So is it Kate Jones at right back?
Apparently, Bradley's been in a few training sessions. It's just he can't play the whole game.
I think we'll see some Bosley at right back. Personally,
I think it's Curtis Jones for me.
Oh, don't say that. That'd be a disaster.
I'd have Livramento over Curtis in right back. If
I mean,
Joey G's coming back.
Yeah,
Joey G. Oh God,
not a chance. All right. So, if we have a disagreement, I'll bring it to both of you. Drew, who's your vote for at right back?
I'm going only who's fit, so Livramento gets in. Easy.
Deck.
Again, Livramento because he's the only one who's fit.
There we go. We're Livramento's in there. Okay, left back again. Another one I think is close. I think Lewis Hall is unbelievable, and I think they're two of the best young left backs in the world. I mean, Deck, I'll give this one to you. What are you saying?
Kerkez. It's exactly what Stitches said before, the way we play. Milos Kerkez gets in, I think, over most left-backs in the Premier League. I think Milos Kerkez, in my opinion, is the best left-back in the Premier League. I think he's one of the best left-backs in world football. There's no, apart from Andy Robertson, but Andy Robertson's been doing it for years and he's also on the decline now. If we're talking Andy Robertson in 2020, then it's Andy Robertson over Milos Kerkez currently, but it's not. It's a 2025 Andy Robertson, and it's a fresh young Milos Kerkez. So for me, it's easy. It's an easy one at left back. I don't think Kostas Tsimikas unfortunately gets a look in either. I think it's Milos Kerkez for me.
Drew, I'm gonna have to be me anti-Hungarian, tag that I get in our group chat as might have to come out. I might have to be picking Lewis Hawley. I rate him so high. I think he's unbelievable. I mean, Drew, are you going to tiebreakers?
I think you need to give Kirkus some time. I think he's got some absolute quality that
he's a bit mental for me.
Hopefully he learns, he chills out a bit. I'm also throw a curveball in there. Didn't
Dan Burns
start? No, not Dan Burns, but Trippier. I know, as a fullback. I'm curious because with Dan Burns, that's actually Trippier started their first game of the season, if I'm not mistaken. And
I hope they play Trippier.
That's fair, but him on the set ball, if they he can show up and have a game, and then set pieces, we got done by Dan Burn in the League Cup final. That's not what I want to see. Is Newcastle getting a bunch of set pieces, balls into the box, Dan Burn. But for me, it's still Kirkus. Charlie, you gotta give him a chance.
Yeah, I would say Kirkus too, but I just want to throw a curveball. Do they not often change their style a little bit and put Dan Burns in the wide areas on Salah?
Yeah, I mean, Lewis Hall.
They usually do that, don't they?
The last couple of times, I remember Lewis Hall was really, really good against Salah. But yeah, Dan Burns, he's been playing centre-back though as well, hasn't he? Because Botman's made of glass, so it's... Look, if I'm outvoted, Stitches, are you on Kirkus too? Or?
I'm on a Kirkus train.
I
like Kirkus on that one. Sorry.
Well done.
I think there'll be one more position I'll be outnumbered on as well, so I'm prepared for that.
Okay.
I can predict what that's going to be.
Another Hungarian.
I know, yeah. No.
Anti-Hungarian.
I don't even think I think he's like the seventh choice behind Newcastle's midfielders. But we'll do centre backs. We'll do centre backs first.
Yeah.
Centre back pairing. Look, I think it has to be Van Dijk and Konate.
Yeah.
I would normally agree, right? But Konate,
he's a bit dodgy at the moment, isn't he?
He's giving me the EBGBs, man. He's been a bit shaky this season, man. I'm like, listen, top level Konate, there's not even a discussion. But Konate that I've seen this season, and even Van Dijk this season,
the Bournemouth game,
centre backs have been a bit shaky.
The Bournemouth game worried me. The Bournemouth game was worrying. It was criminal. But I think it's Van Dijk and Konate. I do.
Yeah. I mean, I can't vote against our capo. So it has to
be it's got to be Virgil at least.
It's got to be Virgil. But Konate, I'm on the fence on that one. I can hear an argument.
I think Newcastle's centre-backs are just a bit meh. I think, again, probably Dan Burns. The only one I think Shaw's been very poor recently. And Botman, again, he just doesn't play enough. I think the potential was there when they signed him. But, again, he's like Joe Gomez. He's never injured. So, Drew, I mean, I don't know about you, but I think by default, I think Konate probably gets in, right?
I'm with Stitches. I'm a little on it because Newcastle centre-backs they score too. That's the other thing for me. That's what I'm worried about. It's they have there's no striker, but they get a set piece. They got big boys in the back. Shaw scores goals, Burns scores goals. So that kind of we don't Van Dijk scores. Konate rarely scores. So in terms of all around attributes, I would be tempted if we're putting Dan Burn as center back to put him in the League Cup finals. The proof in the pudding.
I can't have Dan Burn in a combined 11. What are we doing? What are we doing? like, come on, let's be real. I might have to overrule everyone.
I think to be fair, what we're doing as well is that we're looking at our defenders as individuals, whereas we're considering Newcastle defenders as a unit. And as a unit, they're not bad. But individual comparisons, I guess there isn't really a discussion in terms of individual attributes. But as a unit and what we've seen so far this season and in pre-season, they look a lot more solid than we do. So we have to question that. But like someone said in the chat, we've got players that we're negotiating over that were in the PFA team of the season, which states that they are better than
There you go.
You say
everyone
that
else in the league.
Declan Rice was in the PFA player of the team of the season.
Yeah, but Charlie, he scored 2 free kicks though, mate. You know what I mean? He scored 2 free kicks.
Great free kicks.
Look, I'm all for the Declan Rice.
Say bad night, Charlie.
The fella's very good at set pieces. I'll give him that.
Stoke FC.
I know. All right, midfield 3. I'll come round to everyone and we'll just do it that way.
Okay.
Dech. There's a lot of good midfielders here. I think the 4 that's probably going to be chosen from is McAllister, Gravenberch, Tonali, and Guimaraes. Look, I don't think so. I'm Florian Wirtz. Oh my god, I just forgot about Wirtz. Jesus, I'm Florian Wirtz. There's at least 2 great players who are going to be taken out, and
Joe Linton. Don't forget
Joe Linton. I know my 3. and I'm not being biased because I'm a Liverpool fan. I'm just genuinely I just genuinely think they're better players. I think we've seen, especially from the opening game against Bournemouth, you can't leave out Ryan Gravenberch. He's essential. And I think McAllister is essential. And I think Florian Wirtz is world class, so he has to play. So for me, as much as Newcastle have got I think the Newcastle's midfield, I think is one of the strongest in the league. I think they've got a great midfield, in my opinion. Tonali, Joe Linton, Guimaraes. So I think, for me though, on the whole, I think Alexis McAllister and Ryan Gravenberch and Florian Wirtz is, for me, the best midfield 3 in the league. If we're going to do it in a traditional midfield 3, sort of 4-3-3 way, if you want to look at it like that. Szoboszlai, I like him a lot, but I don't think. It's almost like you've took last year's midfield and you've upgraded it by putting in Florian Wirtz there, and you take out Szoboszlai. Unfortunately, I'd love them all. I'd love Wataru Endo to play, but it's just you can't have them all in the team. So for me, it's Wirtz, Gravenberch, and Alexis McAllister.
Stitches, I kind of forgot about Florian Wirtz, and I think there might be a discussion to maybe put him on the left to get a midfielder in, because I really, really rate Sandro Tonali. I think he's probably one of the best Italians I think he's probably been one of the best Italians who've come from the Serie A and actually proven that Italians can make it work in the Premier League. And I just, as much as Alexis McAllister for me is the second best midfielder in the world behind Pedri, and I think Ryan Gravenberch is for the first half of the season was comfortably the best midfielder in the world. And I think we saw the second half of the season he got ran into the ground playing 90 minutes in every single competition. But as Dech said, it's very hard to leave them 2 out to get.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think you can't have this conversation without McAllister's name being down straight away. In my opinion,
McAllister's he's 100%.
Given.
I think Gravenberch for us is essential. I think he's essential. I think we can see what happens when he's not there.
Yeah.
This is going to be a bit left field. On Wirtz, absolutely world class, but I might not start him this game simply because of the the amount of violence that Newcastle are going to try and bring to bear against us. Because, then they're going to be high on emotion. They're going to be flying into tackle. For Joe Linton is going to be trying to bully everybody out there. Drew, you mentioned the physicality that they have at set pieces. So I think that you actually have to pick a team that's going to physically match up to them. And I think that putting Wirtz on the left, whilst might be effective for us in the attacking sense, leaves something on the defensive side of things, because we are going to have to be able to compete at set pieces, and you're going to need Gakpo's height.
Yeah, I was going to say that. He's too big, isn't he, to leave out?
Height. You can't leave Gakpo out of a game like this.
Him and Ekatike are like 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah. You're going to need them. And I'll say the same in the midfield. I think it's going to be a battle of attrition in there, and you're going to need legs. And yes, we don't want to see any of Szoboszlai's flicks, but you're going to need his work rate. You're going to need him going box to box. Like, you're going to need legs in there. And I think what you do is you do that for maybe 60 minutes, and then you bring on Wirtz and get him to just destroy them.
I'm on board with that, Stitches. I like that idea, mate. I think Szoboszlai helps you a lot.
We're away from home, so we're going to have to do a hell of a lot of running, and we're going to have to battle. We're going to have to fight. And you know what I'm saying? So I think I'm picking a physically strong team to start with, like, to just see out the bombardment that we're going to receive. They're going to play a lot of long balls, right? They're going to play lots of long balls. They're going to try and get in amongst us. They're going to try and stick a foot in. They're going to leave late tackles in. They're going to challenge for everything. So we've got a battle to start with, and then we can earn the right to play football later in the game. And that's where you bring on the like of Wirtz and have him start pulling the strings. So, yeah, that's my thinking when I'm thinking a combined.
So Szoboszlai got McAllister and Gravenberch then?
Yeah, I think you got to go. I think you
you've talked me into that a little bit,
You have to go with that.
I can't have Szoboszlai in a team. I'm sorry.
Charlie, I'll back you up on that. The counter for me on that, Stitches, while I agree with everything you said, the counter example I'll throw is Thiago against Manchester City. Like, when you have a baller in the squad who can receive the ball under pressure, if everyone on Newcastle is going to be high, they're going to be intense. But Wirtz is his vision of the field and his ability on the ball, he can see someone coming in from behind and turn them on a dime like that, and all of a sudden the field opens up. So I think that's the utility of having a player like Wirtz in the midfield, is to be able to ease that pressure when Newcastle's high enough. Like, he can just spin a defender, and all of a sudden everything's scattered for Newcastle.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, do that later in the game when some of those guys have ran themselves into the ground with the emotion of the day and everything. They've given it everything, and their legs are a little bit slower and a bit tired. Your Wirtz will come on and absolutely walk around them. That's what I'm saying.
I'm fingers crossed that we do that in the first half. We're 2-0 up on the first half, and then you bring on a Szoboszlai to absolutely do the dog leg work at the end and make sure. I want to see them. I want to see how you were talking about earlier in the stream about Newcastle and the players knowing that Isak's going to leave. I want to see their response if they go 2-0 down. Are they going to have that fight? If we just come out of the gates and absolutely slap them and suck a few big punches right to the face, do they have the ability to muster up the crowd to carry on and still be that while we just pass around them? That's why I want those ballers in the team to pass around them, to get them running the entire first leg and get tired.
It's interesting, but I'm just looking back to the Newcastle games that we've played. They have energy for about 50, 60 minutes where they absolutely go at us, and it's a battle. And then it's we take control, and then they just resort to pumping balls into our box. After that, I think, if I remember, wasn't that the one when Kelleher let it go or something? And then, look, either way, but that's my reasoning behind it. I just think that, I guess from my days of playing football, my manager's always said to me, win the physical battle first, earn your right to play. So you got to impose yourself. You got to stand up to every challenge. You got to give as good as you get to start with, and then the game settles down into a pattern where you can play, and that's when you want your technicians on the ball. That's where you want your clever players on the ball. But you're right, Wirtz may also. But I don't know, man. He's two games into his Premier League debut. Is he really gonna be ready for a night under the lights at Newcastle with the ferocity that's gonna come at us?
That to be said, to answer Charlie.
Yeah, go on, sorry.
No, I was going to carry it to you. My 3 would be actually McAllister, Gravenberch, and Tonali. Like, because Wirtz hasn't been he hasn't done the business yet.
I think Tonali personally has to be in the team. I love Gravenberch. I think my midfield 3 would probably be Makovert and Tonali. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard how you look at it, and I think as well Bruno Guimaraes is might potentially be a shout in there, but it does feel weird leaving Gravenberch out. But I think if I'm building the best midfield 3 out of the best players in specific roles that in my made up head, I think you have a destroyer like Tonali. You have McAllister who can kind of be a box to box, and then you've got Wirtz who can play that 10 role. So it's. I don't think we'll agree on the midfield.
I don't think we're going to agree.
No.
It's too hard. It's too hard.
Yeah. I think one position we all will agree on, and I don't think we'll spend much time on this, is Mohamed Salah's on the right wing.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. We can
move on.
Charlie, do you mind me throwing this out to the audience as well? Because like you said, we can't agree, but it'd be great to see the comments from the audience about what midfield 3 they'd select. Because I'd be really intrigued.
Yeah, I mean, someone's here has agreed with you. You bring on Wirtz later, midfield, as they've lost the legs. I think Szoboszlai could be good at that as well. Running kind of our plays. But again, it's like, how are they going to play? Because they played, at Wembley. The only reason they really won was they had about 7 corners in a row, and every single one of them went to Dan Burn. And if I remember correctly, it was Diogo Jota who was marking him every time.
It was McAllister.
It was
McAllister.
I knew it was one of the smallest players on the pitch, and every single corner. And I remember thinking after the 3rd corner, it's like, they've aimed this to Dan Burn every single time. Surely we're going to see that. And then the next corner, he scored from it. So, Tonali, McAllister, Szoboszlai.
Charlie's favorite.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get anyone.
I reckon the Liverpool Expresser said that just to wind you up, because he just wanted to see the facial expression.
Yeah, I can't have Szoboszlai in a command 11. I'm sorry. Okay, up front, I think if we're doing it on availability and currents, it's got to be Hugo Ekitike. I think we all agree if Alexander Isak was playing and for either side, was willing to play football for either side, he'd probably be in there. It'd be Isak. Now,
but you might have Ekitike on the left wing if we had Isak and they had Ekitike.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
Not over Gordon for Charlie.
Yeah. I mean, and the left, we'll go on to the left wing, because I think that's one where I might be totally outnumbered here. But away from home, if this was played at Anfield, I might go for Cody Gakpo. But it's played away from home. Cody Gakpo doesn't turn up away from home. He gets homesick. Listen, I'm going with the Scouser, Anthony Gordon. I've got it.
That's a shout, That's a shout,
I'd actually do it the opposite way round. I'd do it the opposite way round. At home, I'd play the Scouser. Away from home, I'm playing Gakpo because I need his height in set pieces and defensively.
The thing that's selling me on Gakpo.
Charlie, do you know?
Sorry, how many has Gakpo scored?
No, when's the last time Gordon has scored?
It's a while ago, and I saw that start.
Last week.
I think I agree with Stitches, with what we mentioned earlier on. The thing that sells me with Cody Gakpo is how tall he is. I think for me, if we see Anthony Gordon's a shout, I like him. I'd take him at Liverpool. I wanted him as a Diaz replacement not so long ago, but if we're just doing it based off current like form and availability, and I mean we haven't got anyone else. You're not going to play Rio Angamawara, are you? So we're going to have Federico Chiesa. So we'll do. In my opinion, I'll go for Gakpo, Ekitike, and Salah just as me front three.
Yeah, true. Your front three.
I like Gordon. I would not mind him in our squad.
Yeah,
He's not getting in over Gakpo just because Gakpo's form is incredible
Stitches, agree.
compared to Gordon.
agreed.
I'm sorry, but I am in total agreement. It's got to be Gakpo, Ekitike, and Salah.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
For the simple fact that they've got nothing in those
Yes.
areas right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take Alexander Isak. But...
Isak, yeah. I mean, look, there's no argument on Ekitike because both teams wanted him. They tried to buy him. So that tells you that he would be the choice. And if they had Isak, then we would have a conversation over Gakpo because what I'd do is put Ekitike left, Isak in the middle, and Salah on the right. Which
I'm open to Florian Wirtz on the left, and then a midfield three of McAllister, Gravenberch, Tonali. That's what if I was building my team, that's where I'd go.
Yeah.
So I
like it,
yeah.
Just not for that game. I just think for that game,
not
physicality in there.
Not for that game, but in general, I think that's the issue with combined 11s, isn't it? There's so many parameters you could look at.
Did you see the picture that I think we shared it on the Anything LFC account on Instagram of Gakpo, and it was like Liverpool like the next game, and it was Gakpo in like a full-on helmet, like he had like body armor on, like it was hilarious. It was hilarious.
Yeah,
it was hilarious.
I mean, Gravenberch was throwing flying knees and training. I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, what's that all about?
Yeah.
So no, that's actually it's a plyometric exercise to build explosiveness. It does look like they're preparing for some kickbox. It does look like they're preparing for a kickboxing bout, but yeah, my boys do it as well. Yeah,
I thought I saw a cutout of Joe Linton's head on the bottom of the pad personally. He's just giving him a little bit of bleached hair coming off. But
imagine all the hype, and then we go over there and absolutely just smash them,
turn them over. It's either we're going to turn them over 5-0, or they're going to. The referee.
I think they're going to defend. I think they're just going to defend. I think they're going to. We're going to get back. We're going to get 4-5-1, and they're just going to sit deep and wait for us to break. In which case, you need a Wirtz. You need a Wirtz to unpick that. Yeah.
All right. Whilst we're on it, we'll finish it off. I'll go around everyone. Score predictions.
Come on.
First goal scorer. Let's do that. Drew, score prediction. Who have you got scoring first?
First goal scorer, Cody Gakpo, captain of my FPL team. Prove you wrong. But I'm not going to do a score prediction because I swear to God, every time I do one, we lose or draw. So
don't do it.
Win.
Don't do it.
Just to win. Yeah, I'm not doing it. Just to win. Cody Gakpo, 2 goals and assist. Hopefully.
Stitches, Liverpool Express going 3-0 to us.
I'm saying 2-0. And I say first goal scorer is going to be Ekitike. And then Salah will also be on the score sheet. And Salah will also assist.
Yeah. I wouldn't say no. Deck, yourself?
Right, so my score predictions have been dreadful throughout the whole of pre-season, and the Bournemouth game I said 2-1. It went to 2-2, and then somehow we scored and won 4-2. But I'll do one anyway. I think we'll win 2-1. I think it's going to be too much of a hostile environment for us not to concede a goal. And also, I don't think we've been very solid defensively, and hopefully within the time between the Bournemouth game and now, we've worked on that. And let's not forget, it is Virgil van Dijk and Konate. They know what they're doing. So fingers crossed, but I do think we'll concede, unfortunately. I think it'll be 2-1. And I think my first goal scorer, the person that come to my mind straight away was Mo Salah. So I'm gonna go with Salah first goal, and I'm gonna say 2-1 to Liverpool.
I wouldn't say no. Got a McAllister screamer for the first one, which we all
That'd be
them.
great. Yeah.
I'm down for that.
Yeah, I'm similar to you, Deck. I think the environment's it will play a part. It does at Anfield and it does at every stadium in the world. I'm going 4-1 to Liverpool.
Lovely.
I'm going Anthony Gordon scores the first goal, and then we turn it on, and we just go and absolutely slap them. And I do think we will see a bit of a Florian Wirtz masterclass here. I think could get a goal, assist, a couple of goals, couple of assists. I think this is where he really shows himself to the world. Monday Night Football, the world's watching this game. I think
it's gonna be a nice day tomorrow as well, like 27 or something like that.
Do not talk about the weather with Drew in here. Me and Drew have a weather debate going on. So
like 70 degrees.
Can I just say one thing though, lads? On a more serious note, I imagine that we're going to see some unsavoury behaviour from the Newcastle fans on the 20th minute.
I hope not. I hope not. I hope it's respected.
I don't know. I think that there's a level of toxicity that you might. I'm preparing myself for that, to be honest.
Yeah, I think as well we have to. I like, outside of Arsenal fans, I like to separate normal fans and online fans, which is weird because I would class myself as both. But online is such a different persona. I don't act how I do online, and I'm sure all the people who run accounts don't as well. So. And look, as kind of the Jota thing isn't official, is it? It's there's not going to be a minute silent. It'll just be Liverpool fans clapping at 20 minutes. So who knows? Maybe they join. But Newcastle fans have been through obviously tragic player losses themselves with Czech Tiote. So hopefully they don't. So.
You've got to remember as well, before all this Isak stuff, like, I'm sure, like, I mean, when we lost the Carabao Cup final, I was actually like, oh, well, do you know what? At least it's Newcastle who've won. Like, like this whole, like, the Newcastle fans are trying to, like, create this massive, huge rival, like, this toxicity between us and them. It's like you said, Charlie, it's like, it's all social media nonsense. And I think the true Geordies, the true fans who go to the game, know, like, sort of, how to conduct themselves, and I think it'll be all right. I think it'll be all right. I think it's a lot of just before this Isak news, there was none of this rivalry between us and Newcastle. It was, I think it's just a lot of yeah. But I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, I hope you guys are right. So I'd like it to be fine.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, we are going to wrap it up because we did go a few minutes over there. But I hope everybody enjoyed. If you're still watching on YouTube and on Twitter, again, make sure you subscribe to our Twitter. Make sure subscribe to our YouTube, follow our Twitter or X. Obviously, check out all the lads as well. Drew, Stitches, and Deck. All of their stuff is underneath or on their name.